Welcome back. So got some of our parts in yesterday. Improved performance, dropped off the oil pump. So we're going to go ahead and get this pan that we have on temporarily. This is an old pan that we're using just to keep the dust out of the engine. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pull the timing cover. We'll get the oil pump on. We'll still have to use this temporary oil pan because we're still waiting on the new one. We also received the ball joints yesterday for the rear. So we're going to take those over to Jordan Automotive and borrow their press again because they're great guys over there. We should be able to get the rear suspension buttoned up today. We're getting really close on the engine. I think the only thing we're going to be lacking after that is we're still waiting for our push rods to come in. We're also still waiting on the oil pan. Once we get those, we can button this motor up and get it back on the cradle and then start pre-fitting it into the engine bay. Start making sure that we've got clearance and everything for the vacuum manifold and the fuel pressure regulator that we've installed. So stay tuned. Did you take a look and see which one we have?
I don't know, you're holding two. So no.
So it's going to go on like this. All right, we will require torque specs here, Jacob.
Let me get. You want torque spec?
I do.
Is there a torque spec for this?
I would see if there's any instructions on improved racing.
Like this?
Yep, just like those. So what we're doing now is putting the crank scraper on. What that does is it keeps the film of oil off of the crank, which the thicker the film of oil and the more oil on the crank as it's spinning and rotating, the more force is required to keep that crank in motion, i.e. robbing horsepower. So what the crank scraper does is it keeps the oil film on the crank as it's rotating to a minimum. And we're gonna loosely put these nuts on, and then we're gonna check our clearance. We need to have a minimum of 20 thousandths clearance in all directions. So we're gonna have to spin this over, grab our feeler gauges. Did you get a feeler gauge?
Where are they?
In the measuring drawer. SP64036. Chop, chop, let's go. We need a 20. Give us a 20. All right, come on, come on. Shimmer, shimmer.
Yeah, it says torque those to 5 foot-pounds.
Yeah. Oil pump, check.
It's all tight.
Don't stand there fucking puzzled, get fucking ratchet and 10 millimeter.
Don't stand there with your head. You're missing a couple.
Pan's good. Actually, if you're gonna be a minute, give me a torque spec before you go dumping the kids off.
Why are you torquing it down? Don't we gotta take it? Do I gotta take that back off?
For what?
Do we not? No, we gotta put cam bolts in, dog.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, we've gone as far as we can with the engine. Oil pump is in, the windage tray, crank scraper's in. Still waiting for the oil pump, or I'm sorry, the oil pan. As soon as that comes in, we'll be able to button that up, and then the engine itself will be done. We're also waiting for the cam bolts, which should be in today. So all I did was just basically run these down, snug them up, you know, trying to keep dirt and dust out of the engine. We're going to start working on, I'm going to slide this engine out of the way. We'll get the cradle pushed out of the way as well. And then we'll start working on the wiring harness. We'll be able to let the vehicle down. We'll start working on the wiring harness. We've got to pull all of our wires from inside where the controller is going to be into the firewall area. We've got to put all of the wire loom on it. So that's going to give us plenty to do. We also have to pull the rear knuckles so that we can press in the rear lower ball joints. We'll probably do that at lunchtime because we're going to take a trip over to Jordan Automotive to do that. And we might as well, you know, get as much done as we can before we leave the shop. So we'll pull those off. We'll take them with us when we go to lunch.
May I pry bar?
Never mind.
You need to pop it out on the
Wait a minute. Grab it. All right, go ahead.
money.
Yeah. Breezy like Sunday morning. All right, guys, we're over at Jordan Automotive. Step one is going to be to get this axle out of the hub so we can press in our lower control arms. Look at that, just like socks on a cat.
That's it. Good job.
You are the man, brother.
That feels like it's there.
Yeah.
Did you move that in his way? What? Is that what you did? You moved that in Tim's way?
That's exactly what happened.
Santa swung by again. Brought us some push rods. We are 7.525, 80 wall thickness, chromoly push rods. We're gonna slide these in. We're gonna we've got our valves marked, one on each head. We're just gonna double check the wear pattern. Once we put these push rods in, we'll rotate the motor around. We're also gonna verify zero lash.
What are you doing? You're like moving it away. That's what are you f***ing with me right now?
I think minus an oil pump, we might actually have a complete engine today, folks.
What oil pump is
Or,
that?
I'm sorry, not the
pan.
oil pump, the oil pan. We're definitely not stuffing this thing back on the cradle until that oil pan's in.
Yeah, that.
So what we did is we took we just wanted to verify that the push rod length, once we measured it, make sure that we're not riding on the back side of the valve tip or on the front side of the valve tip. So basically what you're gonna do is you take a black Sharpie, you're gonna coat the top of that valve, and then you're gonna spin the engine around. We did one on each side, so we'll take a look at Jacob's in a second. But as you can see, I got a good wear pattern all the way across the valve, so I'm not riding on one side or the other of the valve. So we're gonna go with our push rod adjustment, or our push rod measurement was accurate, and we should be good to go. Once we check Jacob's, we'll go ahead and I'll snug these studs back up, and we'll go ahead and torque this head down. Get ready to move on.
The top of the pump's gonna put some glue on top of the valves.
Hey, Juliet. Hey, it's fucking Romeo.
Probably wouldn't hurt to
You're gonna give me a heart attack.
clean that shit off your
What wasn't Jack was singing it? Hey, Juliet. Fucking backpack man. So you're going on a snowmobile with Jack again?
Yes, that would be interesting. Well, true to Italian fashion, we're not allowed to drive them over there.
Really?
You got to ride bitch.
Really?
Yeah.
They won't.
I'm sure after you
What is that, like an insurance thing over there?
have to have a license.
I guess. I don't know. It's Italy. Probably have to have a license to have a fucking license, you know what I mean?
I can see.
Take your time, I'll
Wait, what are you waiting on me for?
I'm gonna do the same fucking thing.
There's
pal.
another bottle over there. Just think
Go
about
open
it.
a new bottle. Take
This
the
thing-
fucking lid off. That's why I'm not using it, Lee, because I'm too fucking lazy to take the fucking
That's
lid
why
off.
I mean, if it was up to me, I'd have thrown this bottle away. But out of courtesy, you know. Don't
That
waste
also
mine.
would have taken fucking effort.
I could see them hauling through through the mountains. And David's like, "This is great, huh?" And
Yeah.
Lee's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Hold me tighter." No. Hold me tighter, Lee.
Sometimes I really fucking wonder about how your fucking mind works, William. All right, guys, I'm putting a little bit of assembly lube on the top of these valves. Just a skosh, so that we have a good, clean, no metal on metal running or rubbing when we first start this engine up. I've already re-snugged the studs, so now we're ready to put the shaft rockers back on.
Temper, Lee.
We've got the valve train tightened up, valve covers are back on, valve covers are torqued. We also got our balancer on, so we're making a lot of progress. I'm really excited about this. Getting this in was a big part of you know, making up for lost time, since that's really what started this whole internal build anyway, is when I used the crank bolt that was a little bit too long.
Yeah, it's
Mushroom.
manufacturing error.
Yeah, it was a manufacturing error. Whoever manufactured that bolt apparently manufactured it about a half-inch too long, just enough to mushroom the heads in the back of the crank. That was a good catch on that, Jacob. I like that. Thank you. Appreciate that. Good. That's what you call a wingman right there. So this is the setup that we got from Vector Motorsports. Again, I mentioned this before. Really happy with the quality of the product, the spacing and the spacer that they created to make all this work and get your belt alignment with the Pro Charger is great. However, again, I think they have absolutely shitty service, because when I needed to get a new hub, they refused to give me the hub information. I now know what those hub numbers are, because ATI told me where I could find them on the balancer itself. So Vector Motorsports, you may want to kind of rethink that. I get you're trying to protect whatever it was that you did proprietary to make this work. You put the time, effort, and energy into it. That being said, it should be a little bit more user-friendly, especially if you're charging. I mean, this was ridiculous. This was $1,100. It's a $500 ATI damper, so they charge you $600 for a machined aluminum
spacer,
plate.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
a machined aluminum spacer plate, and this pulley. I mean, $600 for that is a lot. That being said, you guys put in the work, and I get that. If you're going to charge that kind of money, be a little more user friendly.
Well, you mean if you're going to charging a premium is not a problem, but you got to back it up with support.
Yeah,
You got to
support
have
and
next
service.
level support.
Yeah, I mean, at SP Tools at Cutting Edge, I couldn't even dream of telling a customer, sorry, sucks to be you, go pound sand. And that's basically what they told me. So again, great product, shitty company. See what ARP says. See what AARP. Waiting on paint to dry arrived. We got our water pump in. As we were putting the water pump in, we ran into a couple problems. Apparently, Nitrous Outlet did an absolutely amazing job of coming up with this four-corner steam kit to work with the LSXR. Challenge is, I don't think that they factored in somebody running the 102, the Nick Williams 102 millimeter throttle body. That throttle body, as you can see right down in here, throw a little light on that subject for you, there is absolutely zero clearance. So if you look at the instructions on the Nitrous Outlet setup for this steam kit, it basically just loops these hoses up underneath, and ultimately that's what we did. However, had to take the water pump back off. We've been twisting and turning with this thing for the better part of an hour and a half, 2 hours. Ultimately, what we did is the corner back here, this was a 45. So the way that Nitrous Outlet had this set up is this 45 was actually in this front fitting. So what we ended up having to do was swap, putting a 90 over here, 45 here. We did have this where it was routed back up underneath the manifold. It was a lot cleaner. We don't really have the luxury of doing that. We'd need a 90 to make that work. So we're making the best out of a bad situation, because at the end of the day, I don't think any of this was actually designed to work with this larger throttle body. Basically, everything with the motor is done. We're ready to go back in. The only thing that we're lacking is the new oil pan. And then we're also going to be relocating the oil pressure sensor down here. Okay, ICT billet makes an adapter that will go in here, and then on a right angle, it has a port for the pressure switch, or the oil pressure sensor. We'll move that here. We'll plug this off, and at that point, we're really ready to go back in. Now that we have that stuff done, we can actually swing our alternator back into place. There's really nothing. We've got the one tensioner we've got to put back on. There's really nothing else pending. We're ready to go back in with this. So getting really close, getting really excited.